Welcome to the Non-Wing Worldwide Podcast, hosted by Drake York.
We go to the infield to Drake York. Thanks a lot, Chad.
This is the Non-Wing Worldwide Podcast.
Hello, race fans. Welcome to this very special edition of Non-Wing Worldwide. I'm your host, Drake York. Took a couple weeks off, very busy with all the USAC racing going on, but we're really about to get busy as it is now time for this year's edition of the NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week presented by Honest Abe Roofing. We've got a packed preview show for you, talking to a couple of the stars that are going to come out, mostly some of those drivers that we don't normally see, especially in the state of Indiana or on the national trail. So without further ado, let's get into it with our first guest and defending Indiana Sprint Week champion, JG Justin Grant. Our first guest on our NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week presented by Honest Abe Roofing preview show is none other than last year's Indiana Sprint Week champion, Justin Grant. How you doing today, Justin?
Good, Drake. How are you?
Very good. So last year, obviously, you were able to knock off the first Indiana Sprint Week title of your career, but Indiana Sprint Week overall has been really huge for your career. You got your first win during Indiana Sprint Week back in 2012. So just as a whole, what has the entire week meant to you?
Yeah, Sprint Week's awesome. It was Sprint Week was, it's been good to me since I've moved to Indiana. Like you said, I got my first USAC sprint car win, my first USAC win at all during Sprint Week. And it's just when I was a kid in California, it's Sprint Week is really one of the things that drug me to want to come to Indiana. My buddy had an old, I think it was a Mills like Sprint Week DVD. And we would watch that thing over and over and over again. And, it was just as cool as racing got as far as we were concerned. And so for me to get to come to Indiana and get to, experience Sprint Week working for Jeff Walker and was I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Just up all night working on cars, changing motors, car washing, and just doing the whole grind was fun, and just to be a part of it was huge for me. Then to get to race it, then get to win a race during Sprint Week, my first race, and then last year to pick up a Sprint Week title and have the Sprint Week trophy in our shop all year, and the rocking chair and everything that goes with it. It's just been a special part of my career and a lot of what inspired me to come to Indiana.
I take a look at your Indiana Sprint Week last year, and it was about as perfect as you could get. You picked up a win at Kokomo, and not to mention, you were in the mix every night to win. And if one thing or another worked out differently, you could have won 2 or 3 Indiana Sprint Week races easily. So was last year just nearly a fairy tale Indiana Sprint Week for you? Yeah,
it really went, exceptionally smooth for us. We had really good race car every night. And we were able to, most of the nights we were able to get qualified good, start towards the front. We picked up a win. We were right in the hunt on a few more. If things kind of fell a little differently, we were in position to win those. And in the nights that we didn't qualify good, we had a really good car. We were able to dig out of a hole and still get into the top 5. I think we finished in the top 5 every night. And, that was kind of our goal going in, was that, if you're going to win Sprint Week, you got to run in the top 5 every night. And so we were able to accomplish that, had good cars, and we were just really prepared, and things all kind of fell our way, which is a big part of it as well. But I think we ended the week with like a 2.3 average finish or something. Like it was really, really good. And it was cool to be able to put that together.
Absolutely. And like you said, darn near perfect. But last year, and really every year of Indiana Sprint Week since its inception, has been known for the craziness. You got feuds. Last year, we had 2 or 3 feuds start off on the opening night. We had guys in and out of rides all week. And how important is it for you as a driver just to focus on your Sprint Week, and how hard is it sometimes to steer clear of some of that drama?
Yeah, it's, I think it's the time of year as much as anything. It's hot, it's humid. Everybody's been on the road racing. Sprint Week's kind of the last hard push of the year. We've been, Eastern Storm and Mid-America Midget Week and just a lot of hard racing and a lot of being out in the heat, being tired, beating up and down the road. By the time Sprint Week rolls around, everybody's tired and cranky and everything's ready to boil over, which kind of adds to it. It makes it that much more exciting, I think. And but yeah, trying to keep your attitude right and try and keep your spirits up. And, and just remember that, like, that's what you always wanted to do. So now you're doing it.
Oh, that's a very good way of putting it. And when you were on the show initially as our first guest, you and I talked a lot about the mental state of racing. And you talked about Indiana Sprint Week. It's the time of the year. It's hot. It's humid. And just a lot of things can happen. So how do you prepare yourself mentally for this hard week of racing every year?
Yeah, just trying to remember why you're doing it and what it's that last night we went to the AJ Foyt documentary that Flo did and for the premiere at the USAC building, and they had a couple of us come up and speak. Levi Jones was one of the ones who went up and spoke, who's Levi's arguably like one of the best USAC sprint car drivers of all time. And he said something that really resonated and kind of summed up the way I feel a lot of times. And when he said it, I was like, dang it, I should have said that. But he was talking about going and, go and race go-karts with these guys. And that were, they were all, where they all worked all week and went and raced go-karts on the weekend. And he said, when things got tough, he would remember that like any of those guys would kill to be able to do what he does one time. And so just trying to remember how fortunate that you are that we get to do this, and that there's people driving race cars all around the country that would kill for the opportunity to get to do what we do every night once. And so just trying to keep things framed that way. And because it's easy to get beat down, and it's hot. It's, you're by this time of the year, if you've crashed a few times, you're banged up, you're sore, crews are tired, your lawn's getting too long, and then wife and kids are wishing you were home, and it's it can wear you down, but it's what we've always dreamed of being able to do, and what a ton of people out there would love to be doing. So just trying to remember that, stay happy.
Well, you make being miserable sound so fun, just the way you phrase it. I like that about you. Indiana Sprint Week is very important towards the season-long standing. So how do you balance, not only being good during Sprint Week, but also chasing that season-long championship at the same time during the same week?
Yeah, well, last year we really went in and trying to win my first USAC championship and my first USAC Sprint Car championship. And I had twice before been leading it, and kind of time Sprint Week came around, like things kind of fell apart during Sprint Week. And then looking back at other people's championships, right? Like Sprint Week seems to be kind of a pivotal moment in the championship. If you can get through Sprint Week, you can make a run at the championship. If you have a bad Sprint Week, it's going to be really tough to win the championship. So we've had a really touch and go year this year. We've been really, really fast. We've had some issues. We've had some struggles. We've kind of been up and down and all over the place a bit. So we haven't had the consistency this year that we did last year coming into Sprint Week, but fortunately neither is anybody else, right? Like everybody's kind of had like a slump or a handful of bad races or whatever. So is patchy of the years we've had, I think we're like 47 points out of the lead, which is basically one night, like the difference between winning and DNFing. So it's, we're still definitely in the hunt. Last year we won Sprint Week, I think by like 65 or 70 points. Right. So it, kind of tells you how fast things can swing. And it's a good opportunity for me to run some points off this week and get ourselves back in the hunt. I don't feel like we're real far out of it. Everybody, like I said, everybody's kind of had a really weird year. So our year's been weird, but we can, we can get it together and go win the thing.
7 drivers have won the Indiana Sprint Week title and the national title in the same year, 5 in the last 10 years. And you're, of course, the most recent one, picking up the championship last year for the national series. So we were just talking about how important points can be during Indiana Sprint Week. Do you think it's necessary to win the Indiana Sprint Week title to pick up the national title?
I don't think it's necessary to win it. I think you have to have a good Sprint Week. I think you've got to come out of Sprint Week top 3 in Sprint Week points, right? And then you can, make a run. Winning it, certainly, you've made up points, or you've gapped somebody in points. So that's obviously just on numbers, it's good. But I think mentally it's good, right? Like if you can get through kind of the toughest week, come out on top, it gives you a bit of a confidence boost going through the end of the year that okay, we're the premier team here, and that feels good, right? But I think it's certainly, as long as you just have a good sprint week, you're in good position. I think, if the wheels fall off and you have a bad sprint week, it's going to be a real tall order to try and win the championship after that.
One more question before I let you get out of here. Very few people have done what you've done, not only win the Indiana Sprint Week, but get that nice feeling of sitting in that rocker at the end of the week. Tell me, what does that feel like?
Yeah, it feels like, honestly, it feels like relief, right? After, I've been trying to do it for, I've been in the Midwest for, I don't know, 14 years now, maybe. Been competing for a sprint week title for probably 11 of those years. So, it's a dream come true, right? Like that's watching sprint weeks, what made me want to move to Indiana. And those guys that I watched were, just heroes to me, larger than life. And that's just guys competing in it, let alone the guy that won it. So to come back and compete in it was a dream come true. And to win it was really more than I could have ever imagined. Once you get back here and you get in the groove of doing it, right? Like you want to win and you're mad if you don't. And, but you accomplish it, right? And then getting to look back on it. And it's like, man, I never even, 15 years ago, right? That wasn't even just getting to go and watch Sprint Week was a dream come true. So to go through all those phases of Sprint Week, right? I've been the grunt, the tire guy. I've been, the guy just trying to make shows, and then to work my way through and end up winning one was just really cool. I feel like I've done Sprint Week in every single stage of Sprint Week. Like anybody that's done Sprint Week, I've done their Sprint Week at some point, which is really cool for me. And I'm fortunate to be around a lot of people that helped me through a lot of that, and people that I can lean on and learn from, and people that have become very good friends of mine and colleagues and stuff that really help keep me on the right track, and I can learn from their experiences and all of that. It's been really cool. And there's just a ton that goes into it. People, it's not 6:30 to 10:30, that people see us on TV. It's car wash till 2 a.m, sleep for 6 or 7 hours, back at the shop, getting things ready to go again. And, it's 18 hours a day for 10 days, so it's a grind, and it's hard, but it's pretty peak Indiana sprint car racing.
Well, as usual, you are very well spoken and summarize everything perfectly. And thanks for your time today, Justin. Good luck during Indiana Sprint Week.
Thanks, Drake. Thanks for having me on.
Our next guest on the NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week, presented by Honest Abraham Roofing preview show, is former, actually now two-time and defending Victorious Wingless Sprint Car Champion, Travis Millar. How are you doing, Travis?
Yeah, doing really good, Drake. Thanks for having me on. I've always listened to this, so I'm excited to be on the show. Yeah,
and we're finally bringing the non-wing worldwide theme to it. You're the first international guest, so you have that feather in your cap now.
yeah, that's good. No, I'm glad. Hopefully everybody listens to it back home, so that sounds good.
We hope so too. So let's just talk about how this whole deal came together. How did you put together this deal to come run NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week, presented by Honest Abe Roofing?
So back in 2020, I was going to come in and drive with the Fitzpatrick's Autosport. They've raced Indiana Sprint Week in the past with Brandon Maddox, and then they raced of recent Indiana Midget Week as just a sprint car support class with Brandon Long. Unfortunately, their motor got damaged and all the rest of it. So I've been talking to Scott Bennick from Bennick Enterprises for about 6 to 8 months. about coming over and racing, and we kind of just sort of struck a deal. He got a good car for me, and like revamped it from the ground up. And to be honest, it's a really neat looking car, great shocks. And we then sent our motor over from Australia to put in the car, and so we're just going from there. We did one race meeting at Putney Enfield on the weekend, and looking forward to Sprint Week now.
And you talk about bringing that motor. For those race fans that don't know, in Australia, without the wing, you have to run a V6 motor. Here in the States, obviously, to make it a 410, it has to be a V8. And myself and others are just begging at the question, why did you decide to ship that motor, not only ship the motor across the world, but then convert it into a 410 instead of trying to find a motor back here?
So we run we run the V6 Buick motor. And we race in the winged car back home. So I race a winged car back home. We were running a 372. So to ship it over here was about $5,000, and I got a sponsor of mine to pay for the shipping between my sponsor and Paul Farrell for Midwest Imports. He got it sent over here for me. We were just trying to keep the cost at somewhat of a decent, roundabout figure, rather than buying an engine that we already have one here or renting one. And then if something goes bad, then we have to obviously pay the bill of the damage and whatnot as well. So it's somewhat, my dad rebuilt the engine as well and converted it from a 372 to a 410. So, it's just an awesome thing that, my dad has, also rebuilt this engine. If he gets through Sprint Week, it's just like a massive feather in his cap that, rebuilding engines with all the other guys around home and being able to get it here and get through Sprint Weeks is just awesome.
Well, we're excited. We're very excited, I should say, to have you in the States for this season. And you talked about shipping that motor and the cost to do it. So just take us through the logisticals of it, shipping the motor, passports, flights, people to stay with, all that stuff. How hard is it to put all that together to make this trip happen?
Yeah, very, very. Shipping the motor, we ripped it off the guy's dyno, John Sidney, who he's like a living legend of sprint car racing back in Australia, and he actually came out here with Max Dumsney at one stage and raced. So got it off his dyno, pretty much threw it in the box. Got the box from Brad Foster, who's another sponsor of mine at B&B Retaining Walls. Chucked it in his motor box. We actually got it sent here probably it landed about 3 weeks ago. And Scott put it in the car ready to go, which is great. Then the logistics of getting my passport and all that, that's sort of, we have our passports are all up to date. And we're staying in we call it a caravan back at home, but it's called a camper, like a tow-along camper. So rather than like paying for mum and dad bought that, and we're just staying in that for the whole of Sprint Week as we sort of go around to the racetracks. It was a bit more economical to do it that way rather than staying at hotels the whole time, because that hotel bill was just racking up really expensive. So the camper was a decent price. It's not brand new, but it's good enough for us to stay in. And we just towed that around with we hired a F350 and going from there. And we've got Larry Weeks coming with us at the moment. He we're borrowing his truck and trailer to haul the car around in. So if it wasn't for Larry, we would be kind of stuck. So Larry comes to Australia during Christmas time every year. So I was having a chat with him at Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, any chance you know anybody?" And he's like, "Well, I'll come with you." He goes, "You can use mine." And then probably a month or so ago, he's like, "Hey, I haven't been to many Indianapolis races. I'll come with you as well." So we've got Larry coming around with us everywhere as well, which is good. He was on the four-wheeler the other day. He's raced a lot in the past, so his knowledge of racing and just the little bits and pieces, he helps me out massively. So couldn't do it without Larry. And my mum and dad and my wife, she's organised all my social media and all my t-shirts. We just picked up some new t-shirts today from Arizona Sports Shirts. So We'll have t-shirts for sale at the racetracks coming up, and it should be good.
Obviously, picking up the Victorian Sprint Car Championship last year without the wing, even though that's a totally different ball game, do you think that title is giving you all the confidence you need coming into arguably the toughest week of the year when it comes to non-wing sprint car racing?
It gives me a fair bit of confidence. We won. I think we only raced about 7 or 8 times in non-wing, and we won. Oh no, sorry, we ran 10 times, and we won 6 of them. So, we also raced another race series, which is a 3-day series, and I won, and I swept the weekend, which is called the Summer Slam series. I swept that weekend. We went up to Queensland and raced up there, won up there as well with all the Queensland people. And then there's a new facility at Eastern Creek Racetrack. Went there twice, ran second and a win. So, those guys in New South Wales, they're pretty hard to beat. But the competition in wingless racing in Australia is, because we don't have the horsepower. The cars are a bit overtired. So, it's very close racing. Just got to be spot on your setup, spot on your, just on everything, to be honest. It's a very competitive nature there now. So it does give me some confidence. Obviously, got to learn to drive with the V8s a bit more. But we went to Lincoln Park. We did okay until we got wiped out by a car that sort of rolled back on us as we were driving past. But I think we got a fair bit of confidence. Obviously, we didn't race with, Swanson was there and Jaden Rogers, so those guys can definitely run at the front. We'll see how we go. I'd love to just make a few A mains and go from there and see what we can do. I think once we get into the A mains, you're in with the shot. If you can do all that, we'll see how we go.
Most certainly, and it's a tall task for you just to get here, as you mentioned, with all the passports and getting your motor over here and all that. But behind the wheel, do you feel ready for Indiana Sprint Week?
100%, I feel ready for a sprint week. Yep. I've been working out hard with a mate of mine at the gym. I might not look super fit, but definitely somewhat race fit. A mate of mine, Dave Donegan from back home, we'd go to the gym probably 2 or 3 times a week. 3 or 4 times a week. We turned it up in the last 3 months. His wife's a PT, so she got us pretty much ready to go racing. He's going to come to America as well and race the Lone Star 600 in a few months. So we had to both get race fit. So yeah, I feel ready fitness wise, motor wise. We're pretty good. We might be lacking a few ponies to people like Justin Grant, but if we can hang in there through time trials and the heat races and be in with a shot with the feature, I think we'll be right.
One last question before I let you go. What are you most excited about for your first Indiana Sprint Week experience?
My most, I would say going to Terre Haute. Like a half-mile track is just massive. Our biggest racetrack is probably, I would probably say Kwinana over in WA, but we don't really go over there too much. It's probably Warrnambool is the biggest one, and I think it sort of measures the same as about I-55. Nowhere near as aggressively banked as I-55, but I'm just hanging to go to Terre Haute. It's just a massive long straight. I was talking to Scotty Weir about it yesterday, and he's like, it's just keeping the car straight for as long as you can before you turn it in. He's like, that's the hardest part. He goes, turning it in is easy. It's keeping it straight is the hard part. So, I'm looking real forward to go there and race Terre Haute. That'd be awesome.
Well, I can tell how giddy you are about Terre Haute, so I can only imagine the feelings for the rest of your Indiana Sprint Week. Good luck, Travis.
Yeah, thanks, Drake. Can't do it, and thanks for all the support from all the Americans. I look forward to seeing you all somewhere along Sprint Week, and come get we got T-shirts, stickers, and hero cards. So yeah, come say g'day.
Awesome, thank you, Travis. We are now joined by our next guest on the Honest Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week, presented by Honest Ape Roofing preview show. That, of course, is Arizona's Stevie Sussex. Stevie, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just put in a long day's work and just ready to get on that plane to Indy.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same boat as you right now. And so, for the fans back at home watching and listening to this, tell us what you do for a living.
I actually own my own little paint company. I do all kinds of different resurfacing, cabinet refinishing, exterior and interior painting. But I like to race a little bit more than paint. So, but when I'm not racing, that's what I'm doing to make some money. So.
That's one way to do it for sure. So, you missed Indiana Sprint Week last year, but you were back here in 2021 with actually the same team, TSR. You were the 2021 Passing Master, so a pretty good Indiana Sprint Week for you. And like I said, you're coming back after a year's absence, but how much confidence does it give you knowing the team and knowing their equipment and all that stuff and how they operate coming back to Indiana Sprint Week?
Well, it's good that we have a notebook together. That obviously helps a lot. We have a lot of fun when we're racing. We don't. I mean, we have we know we can do really well, but we don't put a lot of pressure on each other. We just go out and have fun, and I think we're gonna have a lot better results than we did last time too. My head's a little clearer this time. I don't have as much work stuff as I had going on last time. I just not making any excuses, but my head's a little clearer. I think I wanted a little bit more than I did last time. So I'm just excited to get back in the sprint car. It's been a year and 8 months since I've strapped into a sprint car, so I'm just ready to be back in.
Yeah, and it has been a very long time, a year and 8 months, as you just said. How does that impact your approach heading into Sprint Week against guys, that race either A, every weekend, or B, where you have guys like Justin Grand, Logan Seavey, who race just about every day of the week?
It's a little different. I mean, sometimes when I was racing a lot, it kind of starts getting repetitive and you kind of start losing a little bit of fire, to be honest. As I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot where I think I want it maybe a little bit more than some of them guys right now, but obviously Justin does that for a living, so he always leaves it out there on the table, and so do all the other guys. But I'm coming in with an approach where, yeah, I know I don't have a whole lot of time left to show that I still got some left, so I'm gonna go out there and leave it all out there, and I think we'll turn some heads.
And you've already mentioned it twice, how bad you want this. So let's throw out a scenario here. You're running in the top 5 with a couple laps to go at any night of Sprint Week. What are you willing to do to get a win with the National Series?
Well, everything short of taking someone out. I've never raced like that. I don't really like someone to have to use their bumper to win. That's not me. I'll lean on you as hard as you'll lean on me. But I think you can ask all the other competitors. I'm fairly a clean driver. I'll take myself out before I'll take someone else out. There's probably a lot of YouTube videos of that. So, but yeah, no. Anything else? I like, as far as if I have to go bang the boards. Yeah, I'm up there. Like, let's go. 5 laps to go. Just got to leave it all out there. As long as I know I have the winning car. I don't like the team I'm running for. That they have some backup cars and stuff, but I don't like tearing people's stuff up either. So there is a fine line. But if I feel like I have a chance to win, I'm going to do whatever I can to win.
TSR, let's talk about them a little bit. They've been a fixture on the local scene in Indiana the last couple of years, mostly racing with Travis Berryhill. They brought in Todd Hobson last year from Australia. They had Timez in the car for a couple times last year. So now that not only you bring your notebook that you had with them last year, but they have their notebook from basically all of these racetracks, how helpful is that to you?
Very helpful. So the car I'm driving is actually the one Timez won some races in last year. So as a driver, that makes you a lot more confident knowing that car can win. They just got a fresh bullet, and the motor that they got in there is a lot better than the one that we had in there the previous sprint week that we ran, and that's only going to help us. And we had a decent sprint week, and we were just lacking in a couple areas that I feel like they filled those voids. So like I said, I'm pumped.
You got the Pro Source Passing Master during your last trip at Indiana Sprint Week, which is good because you passed a lot of race cars, but it's kind of a double-edged sword too, because you start in the back, and that mostly means you didn't really qualify as well as you needed to during the Indiana Sprint Week round. So have you and the team put a lot more emphasis on qualifying this year?
Qualifying has always been important. I feel like sometimes I'm on qualifying, and I felt like we qualified decent. There was just a couple times I didn't get through the heat race, and that kind of obviously sets you back. And even if you qualify 13th out of like a 46 car field, you can start 18th, and that's tough. Like it's tough. Like you think you pull in or qualifying 13th or something out of however many cars, and you're not very far off a fast time, and you just got to get those tenths. Those tenths are just very important at sprint week. So I know as a driver, I got to be on the throttle first of all, and then I just got to keep my hands steady and try to be smooth.
You turned a lot of heads last time you were out here during Indiana Sprint Week, but the one thing that sticks out to me about this Indiana Sprint Week in particular for you, there's a new track on there, Circle City Raceway. We raced there last year, but of course you weren't a part of the tour. So, and TSR, we talked about their good notebook. They've won a lot there with Thomas Meserol. So, what have you heard about Circle City? Are you excited for it, or do you think that could be kind of your Achilles heel during Sprint Week?
No, I think that track's actually going to be one of my better tracks on the list. There is one track on there that I'm not looking forward to going to, but I'm not gonna name that one. But Circle City's circled on my notebook. I'm really looking forward to running there. I feel like it kind of looks like an old Canyon Speedway when they had the wall, and kind of runs like that. And I had a lot of success there. So hopefully it races like that, and we can have some good runs, and maybe have a few podiums. And I honestly think I can win still. So
we talked about all your success back in 2021 with the Passing Master, and you mentioned it's been nearly 2 years since you've sat behind the wheel of a non-wing 410 sprint car. 2 years since your last Sprint Week attempt. Do you feel like it's going to take you a couple days to get right back to where you were? Do you think you're going to come out of the box swinging immediately?
Honestly, I don't know. I personally feel like after hot laps, I think I'll be ready to go. The main thing that might stagger me a little bit is putting 30 laps together, clean laps together. I know I can put 8 laps together. I know I can put a couple laps together in qualifying, but it's putting those 30 laps together, putting yourself in good positions, because your mind has to work a whole different way once you're in the main event. And I've been watching a lot of film, and I've been putting myself in a lot of situations. I've won about every race I've watched this year. I've lost a few, but but I have a pretty good record this year, so hopefully that has something to do with it.
Oh, backseat drivers. You got to love them, even when they're race car drivers. So let's set expectations for you in the 78.7S during Sprint Week. Give me a hypothetical, like what results are you looking for? And if like you finish, say, top 15 in points, are you going to be happy with that? Or are you looking for more?
No, I definitely am looking for more than that. I think we were about there last time, and it was just me a lot of the other times, and we had a lot of little issues that no one ever really hears about, which as a driver or car owner, you don't really make those excuses. But I think if we can just clean up on some of those areas, I definitely know we can run top 10, and I honestly still have a couple tracks on there that I know I can win at. So.
Well, awesome. Well, again, Stevie, thanks for your time today, and best of luck during Indiana Sprint Week.
Thanks, Drake. Hope to see you out there.
Once again, thank you to all those drivers for taking time out of their busy day to talk with us here on Non-Wing Worldwide about the upcoming NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week presented by Honest Abe Roofing. And there's going to be a lot of different drivers and teams coming out that we don't normally see in the Midwest. And in fact, even a couple of ride swaps in the Midwest. So be on the lookout for that when things fire off at Gas City come Friday night. Let's now take a look ahead at our upcoming racing schedule. And outside even of NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week presented by Honest Abe Roofing, there's a lot of racing. It really kicks off Thursday night at the Winchester Speedway in Winchester, Indiana for the Rich Vogler Classic with the USAC Silver Crown Series. Also in action that night at the Grand Rapids Speedway in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, the Northern Renegade Sprint Car Series will be in action. Friday night is when things really kick off for the USAC group as they are at the Gas City I-69 Speedway in Gas City, Indiana for night number 1 of Indiana Sprint Week. Also in town, the USAC Midwest Thunder Speed 2 Midgets. At Doe Run Speedway in Doe Run, Missouri, will be the Extreme Outlaw Midgets. They have a co-sanctioned show along with the Power Eye Midgets. Midway Speedway in Lebanon, Missouri has the Power Eye War Sprints. I-96 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri has the Great Lakes Traditional Sprints. Mason City Motor Speedway in Mason City, Iowa has the Western Iowa Non-Wing Sprints. Champaign County Speedway in Champaign, Illinois has the Power Eye IMRA Speed 2 midgets, and Lernerville Speedway in Sarver, Pennsylvania has the Rush Sprint Cars. On night number 2 of Indiana Sprint Week, the Amsoil USAC National Sprint Cars will be at the Kokomo Speedway in Kokomo, Indiana for the Darland Classic. Also, again, joining the National Series will be the USAC Midwest Thunder Speed 2 midgets. At the Southern Illinois Raceway in Marion, Illinois, will once again be the Extreme Outlaw Midgets joining the Power Eye Midgets for a co-sanctioned show. Boulevard Speedway in Boulevard, Missouri has the Power Eye War Sprints. Silver Bullet Speedway in Owendale, Michigan has the Great Lakes Traditional Sprints. Mason City Motor Speedway in Mason City, Iowa will host the Western Iowa Non-Wing Sprints. That is their season finale. Pretty short season for the Western Iowa Non-Wing Sprints. Berlin Raceway in Berlin, Michigan has the 500 Sprint Tour and the USSA Midgets. Honor Speedway in Pueblo, Colorado has the ASCS Elite Non-Wing North Series. Vado Speedway Park in Vado, New Mexico has the NMMRA Sprint Cars along with the Power Eye 360 Non-Wing Sprint Cars, which is a local series at Vado. Petaluma Speedway in Petaluma, California has the USAC Western States Midgets. Then it's the Dog Days of Summer at Sycamore Speedway in Sycamore, Illinois with the Badger Speed 2 Midgets and Badger Mara Midgets. Bartholomew County Fairgrounds in Columbus, Indiana has the All-Star Circuit of Champions TQ Midgets. Hibbing Raceway in Hibbing, Minnesota has the Renee Hughes Tribute with the Northern Renegade Sprint Car Series. Ventura Raceway in Ventura, California is our first of the local races for the weekend. They have the VRA Sprint Cars and the VRA Senior Sprints. In Antioch Speedway in Antioch, California with the Wingless Spec Sprints at a local show. That rounds it out for July 22nd. July 23rd will be night number 3 of Indiana Sprint Week at the Lawrenceburg Speedway in Lawrenceburg, Indiana with the USAC National Sprint Cars. Lincoln Speedway has their Sunday Fun Day in Lincoln, Illinois with the Badger Mara Midgets. And Bemidji Speedway in Bemidji, Minnesota has the Northern Renegade Sprint Car Series. July 24th only has one race on the docket. That, of course, is Indiana Sprint Week. Night number 4 at the Circle City Raceway in Indianapolis, Indiana with the Amsoil USAC National Sprint Cars. No racing on July 25th, but then on July 26th, it will be racing action for the Terre Haute Action Track for night number 5 of Indiana Sprint Week in Terre Haute, Indiana. Same story on July 27th at the Lincoln Park Speedway in Putnamville, Indiana with Indiana Sprint Week night number 6. Non-wing sprint car and midget racing really refires off again on July the 28th. Of course, that is night number 7 of Indiana Sprint Week at the Bloomington Speedway in Bloomington, Indiana with the Amsoil USAC National Sprint Cars. Ohio Valley Speedway in Washington, West Virginia has the Extreme Outlaw Midgets. Electric City Speedway in Butler, Missouri has the USAC Midwest Wingless Racing Association Sprint Cars. Lima Land Motorsports Park in Lima, Ohio has the Great Lakes Traditional Sprint Cars. Paragon Speedway in Paragon, Indiana has the Boss Sprint Cars. Circle City Raceway in Indianapolis, Indiana has the All-Star Circuit of Champions TQ Midgets and non-wing steel block sprint cars. Ocean Speedway in Watsonville, California has Western Midget Racing. And rounding it out on Friday at the River Cities Speedway in Grand Forks, North Dakota, the Northern Renegade Sprint Car Series will face off against the Western Renegade Sprint Car Series. Saturday night, July the 29th, a lot of racing going on, namely the final night of NOS Energy Drink Indiana Sprint Week presented by Honest Abe Roofing at the Tri-State Speedway in Hobstadt, Indiana for the Amsoil USAC National Sprint Cars. Atomic Speedway in Chillicothe, Ohio has the Extreme Outlaw Midget. Central Missouri Speedway in Warrensburg, Ohio has the Power Eye War Sprints. Nevada Speedway in Nevada, Missouri has the USAC Midwest Wingless Racing Association Sprint Cars. Butler Speedway in Quincy, Missouri has the Great Lakes Traditional Sprint Cars. Paragon Speedway in Paragon, Indiana has the Boss Sprint Cars. The Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway in Nashville, Tennessee has the 500 Sprint Tour. That's going to be a very, very interesting race to watch. Santa Maria Speedway in Nipomo, California has the USAC West Coast Sprint Cars. The Sandia Speedway in Albuquerque, New Mexico has the New Mexico Motor Racing Association Sprint Cars. I-76 Speedway in Fort Morgan, Colorado will host the Rocky Mountain Midget Racing Association. Goodyear All-American Speedway in Jacksonville, North Carolina has the USAC Eastern Focus Midgets. Antioch Speedway in Antioch, California will play host to the Hunt Magneto's Wingless Tour and Western Midget Racing. Wilmot Raceway in Wilmot, Wisconsin hosts the Wisconsin Wingless Series. Pittsburgh's PA Motor Speedway in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has the Rush Sprint Car Series. Devil's Lake Speedway in Cary, North Dakota has the Western Renegade Sprint Cars. Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin has the Upper Midwest Renegade Traditional Sprint Car Series. And rounding it out on Saturday night, a local show at the Lincoln Park Speedway in Putnamville, Indiana with non-wing 410 sprint cars. And on Sunday, July the 30th at Bush Creek Motorsports Complex in Pebbles, Ohio, the Extreme Outlaw Midgets will round out their weekend. Also in action the Angel Park Speedway in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, with the Badger Speed 2 midgets and Wisconsin Wingless Sprint Cars. And rounding it out on this episode here of Non-Wing Worldwide at the McLean County Speedway in Underwood, North Dakota, the Western Renegade Sprint Car Series round out their weekend. That is your upcoming racing schedule from the United States. And once again, thank you so much for watching this edition of Non-Wing Worldwide. Happy Indiana Sprint Week, race fans. It's almost here. That's going to do it for us here on this edition of Non-Wing Worldwide. Hope you enjoyed this special Indiana Sprint Week preview. I'm Drake York, and we'll see you at the races.